Okay, I have a challenge for all of my listeners today. All of you listening to this, please take me up on this challenge. This is something that I did in my own recovery that was a game changer. Totally changed things for me for the better. I always struggled with eating late at night and saving all of my calories for later in the day. All of my food, all of the treats, all the things I really liked were always pushed back to later in the day. And it wasn't until I figured out that I was still being pretty careful. It felt like a lot of progress and change in what I was eating when I started recovery, but it's still, I knew I was holding back. And I just had such a hard time, like just diving in to like truly unrestricted eating first thing in the day, first thing in the morning. So what I did was, and I've talked about this in like old videos, is I ate a candy bar in bed, a full size candy bar in bed, because the thought of that terrified the crap out of me, if I'm being honest. And I'm guessing those listening probably terrifies you as well. And I know some of you are past clients or current clients and have done this and have seen great success. So chime in here if you're one of those people. But I feel like anyone that's taken me up on this challenge has seen a positive change in their behaviors throughout the day. It's like when you wake up in the morning and you're in recovery from an eating disorder, you're in a chronic deficit, right? So especially after you've slept through the night, you wake up in the morning and you're even in a deeper deficit. And we all know that when you're in a deeper deficit or you have been, without food for a period of time, the eating disorder thoughts get louder, right? So when you wake up first thing in the morning, it's as if you need to take your medicine immediately. And that's kind of how I treated that candy bar. And then that kind of snapped me out of like my autopilot was to wake up and just be in my eating disorder mode. And by taking in that candy bar, I was like deliberately doing something opposite of what I normally did. And it just kind of gave me permission to allow the entire day now to be a good challenge. The entire day is not going to be catered to honoring what my eating disorder wants me to do. My day, I just committed by eating that candy bar, is a pro recovery day. I'm doing this. And so that was a huge change for me. Now, I do remember thinking ahead, like you always kind of have to be one step ahead, right, in your recovery. I remember thinking, if I do this candy bar though, if I eat this candy bar first thing in the morning, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know I'm just going to restrict my breakfast. I'm going to try to push it off a little bit later than I already do. And then I'm going to feel like I can't eat all the things that I want to eat without feeling guilt and shame. And I caught myself and was like, exactly. Like the reason that you're saying you can't eat the candy bar, Becky, is because then you can't feel good about eating what you want without the eating disorder having something to say about that. And that's exactly the point in recovery, is to do all those things, run into all of those scary things that we know is going to bring up guilt and we know is going to bring up anxiety and is very outside of the norm. So I realized, okay, now I know that I do need to do the candy bar in bed. And I also need to be aware that my tendency is going to want to be to compensate or to restrict at breakfast, and I cannot. And I also can't push it back. So I will eat this candy bar. I will get up and get downstairs to the kitchen as fast as I can and eat just as much. Really, what happened was I was eating even more than I was before for breakfast because, like I said, it just something switched in my brain of like, and it kind of like revved up my appetite. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, today's the day of eating. I'm doing this. So I would love it. I, I I do these videos and I have people comment and it's great, but like I don't really know if this is helping people change, right? Like videos are, they give you feel goods and oftentimes gives you permission to eat, and a lot of times it just is like reinforcing what you already know, that hopefully one day you'll maybe like this will sink in and you'll actually do the things that people on videos are talking about. But like I want to know people are actually changing. Otherwise, I don't know why I'm doing these videos, right? Like, I want to know that people are actually committing. And I've seen some cool comments on there, people that are like, I'm doing this day one, like, I'm starting, I've gone all in, and I am like all for it. I'm so excited. It makes me so happy. It makes me want to keep doing videos. But I want to know that people that are listening to this are actually doing things to change. So here's an active challenge that you can do is, and if it's not a candy bar, maybe it's a muffin or it's a some form of pastry, something obviously that doesn't need to be refrigerated, so you can put it on your nightstand. And next to that candy bar, I forgot I did this as well, is I wrote a sign that said, I'm not migrating today, which just kind of reminded me of like, I'm not going down that road today. I'm not allowing any restriction to creep in because I want to recover. And what happens is when we start our day out with restriction, more restriction happens, right? Restriction leads to more restriction, which leads to more restriction. It's like a drug for someone who is addicted to drugs, right? Having that amount of time where you've restricted, or a period of space between when you eat your last meal and your next meal, or just like spacing out eating too much, allows for the eating disorder thoughts to get really loud and then makes it really hard to make good choices. Okay, so the way that this helped me was not only get me on track with eating like the things I really wanted to eat during the day, but then also over time, I can't emphasize this enough, over time, over like several months, the eating that I was doing at night started to come down. But it did not happen like the day I ate that candy bar. All of a sudden that night, I was like, oh, I don't want to binge anymore tonight. I'm not even that hungry. No, it didn't work that way at all. I ate the candy bar, I ate tons throughout the day, I challenged all kinds of sweets and desserts and things earlier in the day. Night came and I still was like, and you better believe the first 2 days I was like, this isn't working. Like I was like panicking. I remember in the kitchen just being like, my husband, Zach, this isn't working. Like I thought this was going to make me not want to eat all this food later at night, and I'm still doing it. And he obviously gave me sound advice, which was like, you think this is going to change overnight? Like, obviously, your body's going to keep asking for this until it's feeling very comfortable and safe and secure and know there's no famine anymore. So I had to teach my brain that food was abundant and that I could eat it first thing in the morning until the moment I put my head down on the pillow, and sometimes in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're hungry. And that happened to me as well. And I got smart with that and put food in my nightstand so I didn't have to get up out of bed and go down to the kitchen. So if that's something that you run into as well, I highly recommend storing food in your nightstand. So that helped me over time. What I'm saying is that helped me a lot to be able to to retrust my body, and knowing that like if I feed it adequate amounts of food, lots and lots of food, over time it does get to a point where it doesn't want to eat all the food. It really does. I promise you it does. And it's hard to fathom when you're in a position of starving, coming from a depleted state, coming from roaring mental hunger. It's hard to believe someone say that. You're just like, yeah, right, I'm the one that's never going to happen to. Try it. Get curious. I challenge you. Okay, have a good day.